Hey there everyone, welcome to this video. We are doing something very impromptu tonight. I'm filming this video tonight and I'm going to hope to upload it in the next couple of hours as well. Usually I come up with a grand plan for a video, I find good lighting. We don't have any of that today. But I feel really impassioned to talk about a certain subject, and as you can tell by the title, this is another one of our Real Talk videos. I haven't done one in a long time. I usually like to plan them out like I said, but today I think we're just gonna wing it. And you know, why not talk about something while you are thinking about it, while you're feeling it, while you are wanting to get your thoughts out. So I thought I'd just turn on the camera and we have our Real Talk video right here, right now. Today's topic is about this whole aura or this conversation about fast fashion, about consumerism, about made in China products and the like. And this might not be what the other videos are about with similar titles. I want to kind of address this feeling I've had for a very long time whenever I try to look up videos and information about sustainable fashion and just being curious and exploring the category, exploring the conversation. And what I often felt is that, well, there's a lot of things I don't quite agree with, and I think we might be taking this almost in a skewed direction. And I'll get to all of that in just a moment. As always, I want to preface this by saying that these Real Talk videos are opportunities for us to have an ongoing conversation, to have a respectful conversation regardless of your opinion. You're more than welcome to share your thoughts, and I encourage you to share your thoughts so I can see them and hear them, and we can talk about these complex ideas down in the comment section. I'd love for that to happen, but I do hope that you will respect everyone's opinions as we discuss these sometimes sensitive and sometimes controversial topics. With that being said, those of you who have been watching me for a long time, you know how this goes. Leave me a comment down below, pause the video whenever you have something really thoughtful you want to get out there, and then just keep playing the video and add more comments later. I'm cool with all of that. So, back to our topic. Sustainable fashion. There's many facets to this. You can talk about sustainable fashion, you can talk about eco fashion, you can talk about ethical fashion, and I'm being very general, in pulling everything into a big bubble and looking at things, when other bloggers or magazines or articles write about fashion that is not fast, so slow fashion, not shopping from places like H&M, Forever 21, even Zara, shopping from higher end or shopping from sustainable fashion brands and the like. A lot of the people that I watch for fashion inspiration, they have turned to minimalism, they have turned to eco-friendly fashions and being more conscious of their consumerism, all of which I think is great. But the overarching feeling that I can't help but feel on the inside, kind of the subliminal message that they're not saying but they're kind of saying, is that, well, sustainable fashion can be really expensive. And this is a conversation I've had with some of my other friends as well. When I look at the recommendations from many people or websites, they are linking products that are way out of the price range and budget of the minimum wage making individual. I'll give you an example. Here in Vancouver on the west coast of Canada where I live, minimum wage is $10.85 as I'm recording this video. As far as I know, I'm pretty sure those are the right numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong, or I'll leave the corrections in the information bar. If you're making $10.85 an hour, and you are spending a whole whackload of that on rent, because rent is incredibly expensive in this city, as with many other big cities, you are not going to have the budget to spend $70 on an organic cotton, eco-friendly, ethically made t-shirt. It is not at the top of your life and living priorities. you might spend more of that on food. You probably won't even be able to spend that on organic food or really healthy food. You're probably buying fast food because that's what you can afford after what you make and the taxes and maybe childcare and then rent that you're paying and all of these things. I think oftentimes sustainable fashion doesn't really take into consideration people who make different wages, people in different living situations. It almost seems a little bit elitist. Now, not all the time, but often is the feeling that I'm getting. I also feel that, you know, a lot of the sustainable, eco and ethical fashions are hard to come by. You have to shop online. You can't try them out in stores because those stores don't exist in the store front. They are expensive, like I mentioned. There are some cheaper ones, a more affordable range, but they don't have a wide variety of styles. They tend to be very of that either minimalist style or relaxed silhouette, and it's not necessarily a wide range of selection of styles that many people can feel like they can relate to. You know, if the only options, for example, for you to go if you want to buy something that's sustainable is the regular old white cotton t-shirt. Well, what if I don't like a white cotton t-shirt? What if I like something else? I wish there was more breadth in the things that we can choose and ways that we can be sustainable and ethical in our consumerism and choices. And the second thing I want to address is, well, there's also this thing about who grows your cotton. And I say it like that because when you talk about brands that are not sourcing or outsourcing their labor across seas in other countries, and we'll talk about other countries and what that means in a moment, it doesn't necessarily mean that they know where their fabric comes from, or that you know where their fabric comes from. You don't necessarily know who grows the fibers, the cotton, the flax, the dyes to make the fabrics. You just know that they're made somewhere that people are paid good wages, which is a great thing. But you don't know all the small individual details that goes into making this garment. So I would personally say that unless you are personally hand sewing the seeds into the dirt to grow your own cotton, which you are then picking and processing and making into thread and weaving and cutting and sewing your own garments, you don't know the whole chain. Now, does that mean you shouldn't, you know, try your best? No, but I'm just making it a little bit more transparent that there's a lot more that goes into what is considered sustainable, eco-friendly, ethical fashion than just where the labor is. Speaking of which, this brings me to my next point. The whole made in China excuse. And this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm very obviously Asian and Chinese, but it really rubs me the wrong way when I see a lot of advertisements or just, you know, things that people say casually that begin with, our products are made by artisans and not made in China. Let's, you know, seriously, artisans exist all over the world, be it in China or in Canada or in the Netherlands or in Africa or in wherever that you are around the world. Artisans exist everywhere. Artisans are people who practice and perfect and have experience in their craft, right? They use this made in China almost as an excuse. Don't buy things that are made in China. Okay, there are certain things that I will not personally buy, or if I had the option, I would not buy the made in China version because I know of certain perhaps quality control or kind of ethical operations and things like that. But made in China doesn't necessarily mean bad quality. And I think that's a modern misconception that a lot of people buy into because they don't understand the concept or they haven't really thought about it in detail. For example, Everlane, a brand that many people love and go to when they want to buy more sustainable fashion, they source their materials in China. It's right there on their website because they thought that that factory made the best material for what they want to use for their garments. So there can be quality in made in Asia products, but that depends on the owners of the factories, the owners of the brands, and who they choose to buy their labor from or buy their materials from. They can make those choices, right? And it doesn't mean that everything coming out of China is poor quality. There's a lot of high-end now luxury things that you may not think about or know that are made in China and that last and that are great. So I think we should be a bit more mindful when just throwing it out there that made in China equals bad quality, because granted, there's a lot of stuff made in a lot of places that could be bad quality. It's really about quality control and the standards, you know, that you have higher standards, in other words. So I guess, where does this take us? What is my point in this whole thing? I like to steer our conversation about sustainable fashion in nudge it in another direction. So a couple of things. Number one, I think we should be more aware of conscious consumption. Consumption is this thing that has almost overwhelmed us, this kind of push against consumption, you know, this trend almost of minimalism. Granted, some people do minimalism because it makes sense to them and it speaks to their lifestyle. By all means, I support that. But minimalism is, in a way, has become its own trend. It's very trendy to be a minimalist, if you know what I mean. I think we should be conscious of the things that we buy. We should be conscious of how those things work in our lives and how long they last in our lives. Materials and things have much more longevity than we give them credit for. I think we throw away things too quickly, too easily. We hastily make decisions about things we bring into our lives without thinking about their how long they are going to last and be useful and be purposeful in our everyday lives. So I think everyone can be a little bit more conscious of their consumption that is realistic to their lifestyle and realistic to their budget. You know, if your budget really just means you have to shop at fast fashion places, I think that's okay. I don't think you should be guilted into feeling like such a horrible monster that you bought a $2.75 tank top from Forever 21, which, by the way, I think are fabulous, and I have owned them for many, many years and not just worn them a couple of times. Number two, I think that people have forgotten or have not been taught to think about quality, how to distinguish quality. What is a good quality piece of clothing, whether at a low price point or a higher price point? These are things that should teach you in home economics, but they don't. Third thing, I think that we should learn to think about our personal style and what exactly is that we want, and that when we buy things, be more purposeful. You know, this is exactly what I want, this is exactly my style, and therefore I'm going to keep it for a lot longer and love it for a lot longer in my life. Number four, I think people don't talk about caring for their garments, caring for their clothes, how to store them, how to wash them. I don't know what people are doing to their clothes, that the common conception is that fast fashion only lasts a couple of wears. I've had fast fashion that has lasted me years and years that I still continue to wear that are just perfectly fine. I didn't have to throw them away. So you have to think about the quality of what you're buying regardless of where you are buying it, if you know what I mean. And I think number five, we should all think about how to repurpose things in our lives, how an object can have more than one function. After it doesn't fit in this category, can we use it for something else? Can we upcycle it, repurpose it, recycle it for some other thing that it can do? It has a longer lifespan than what it's originally intended for. And realistically, I hope that everyone can start making things by hand, making their own things, doing more handmade. but of course that is, that goes along with your interest, what type of lifestyle you have, whether or not you can afford to make handmade, because handmade can be expensive and you need to learn how to do handmade, and that takes time and that takes process and that takes money as well. So I guess this mumble jumble of information was just kind of brewing inside me, and I wanted to get it out there and share with all of you. Again, I don't have a fancy thumbnail by the time I finish filming and uploading this, but I hope that you would join me in this conversation. Leave me something down below, and what are your thoughts on this whole category of sustainable, ethical, ecologically sound fashion, and how does that work in your life? I gotta go pick up the phone. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.